Our next speaker, Willie Jones. A warm boot. A warm boot, Willie Jones.
I want to come out to the beginning of this stage so everyone can take a good look at this guy. Last year, in early 1996, I got my letter from the AARP. You know what I mean, don't you? Those of you who are a part of the baby boom generation, don't raise your hand. I don't want to embarrass you, but I want you to pay real close attention to what I have to say this morning, because at the end of my speech, I want to acknowledge you in a certain way. I'm a computer guy. And one of the most marvelous things about a computer is something we call a warm boot. Those of you who have computers, you know what I mean. When your computer is working real good and all of a sudden it stops, and you start pushing on the keys and nothing happens, and you shake the screen a little bit and nothing happens, and you're afraid to turn it off because you don't know whether it'll ever come back on, you call a guy like me. And I gently work you through a little thing called a warm boot. I said, take your hand and put it on the key that's called control. And then put the other finger on the alt key. They're right close together. And then touch the delete key. And when you do that, it takes a while sometimes to get people to do it all at once. But once they do it, the computer magically powers itself down, but it doesn't cut off. It checks its systems out, and it comes back on, and in the telephone, I can hear this sound that goes, boom. And that lets me know that everything is fine. That sound is, boom. Remember that. Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Chairman, I have become a radical baby boomer. When I crossed over the 50 line last year, I looked around for something that was good about being 50. I found absolutely nothing. Well, wait a minute. It's good being 50 if you're a cheese or a tree. But what is good about being 50 if you're a person like myself? We better get used to the idea of being 50, though. I looked up a statistic, and do you know that 70 million Americans, the majority of the nation, will be going over 50 in the next 10 years? I will become a part of the majority. I can't wait. I can't. It's going to be fun. I got some things to do. But becoming a part of the majority and being a radical baby boomer, I've started myself a newsletter. On the internet, I have a newsletter, and I call it The Warm Boot. I address it specifically to baby boomers because what I want to do, and what I've been doing, is to try to get baby boomers to understand that being over 50 is not the end of the world. One of the things that I found by talking to my fellow boomers is that when you get over 50, rather than looking forward, you start looking back. And you start saying to yourself, there's a lot of things that I intended to do and I didn't get them done. And you start having those dreams come in on you, wondering whether you're going to have enough time left to get this stuff done. Well, I say, forget that. What I did, once I got over the depression of getting that letter, I had a garage sale. I opened my closet and I pulled all of those dreams out of there and I took them out into my yard and I had a garage sale. I had some things. You probably got some of these things in your closet. I had about 5 cases of SA8 soap. 3 business startup kits from my days in multi-level marketing. You got them. Don't tell me you don't have them. I know you got them. I didn't sell those things. I gave them away. I had a pair of roller skates, the ones with 4 wheels on them. I still had them. And in my garage itself, I got one of those Nordic track things, those monstrosities. You remember those when they first came out, the guy on TV doing this, and we all rushed out and bought that thing and brought it home, and it filled up your whole living room? And I did about 3 courses around it, and it's been sitting there since. I gave that away. In my newsletter, I tell baby boomers, here's some things that you need to do. Now listen close. Don't take yourself so seriously. That's the main thing that I say to baby boomers. Don't fear failing. Failure is not fatal. As a matter of fact, the way you should treat failure is like the preacher did when he gave his first sermon before the big preacher in the church one day. And the sermon was really bad. And the preacher got up, the right reverend got up and told him that wasn't very good. And he humiliated the young preacher in front of the whole audience. And the preacher said, I'll do better next week. And the next week he came in and he gave his second sermon. And he remembered being humiliated. And he said, I'm not going to fail this week. He said, my fellow parishioners, I can fail. You can fail. And the Monsignor can fail. I can sin. You can sin. The Monsignor can sin. I can go to hell. You can go to hell. You know what? Don't take yourself so seriously. You know, the number of people who are going to attend your funeral will largely be determined by the weather that day. Take it easy. Live your life full of fun. Just because you grow up don't mean you have to grow old. Those of you who are baby boomers, let me hear you go,